we're going to celebrate today because what we have is kind of like I don't know if you want to call it a end to the Jeff Sessions hysteria or the Jeff Sessions paranoia, whatever you want to call it. The Jeff Sessions reefer war, the new war against weed that everybody keeps talking about since Jeff Sessions, who's not a friend of weed at all. Let's make no mistake about that. But he's kind of not he's not Mussolini either. He's not exactly trying to make mountains move to go after marijuana. How do I know that? Well, he hasn't done shit yet. So everybody keeps talking about what he could do, but what has he done? He hasn't done anything. I mean, in Trump's 100 days, they haven't done nothing. It's basically just a bunch of non-moves. Like, one of them was setting up some kind of a drug commission with Chris Christie and the lady in Florida who was the attorney general, who supposedly got rid of the pill mills and all this stuff. This commission, we've heard about that, and it didn't sound like that was going to do anything in the realm of marijuana. So right now I'm going to break up some Crockett Dog, Crockett Family Farm, Crockett Family Genetics. Crockett Dog has that delicious aroma. It's got a little bit of everything, including some guava in there. It's really delicious. So this is a celebratory thing because we got a little bit of something to celebrate in the sense that not only did Jeff Sessions essentially hit a brick wall when it comes to how much more rhetoric he could spin when it comes to recreational marijuana and even medical marijuana, which, if you remember, he said he was dubious of medical marijuana and kind of thinks that medical marijuana is in fact overrated. So, whatever, buddy. Whatever you want to say. I already said my take on it. Jeff Sessions learned about his marijuana position in the back of some church down in Alabama, or in the front, whatever, it doesn't matter. Like, the back, the front, whatever. The church in Alabama is probably marijuana's last friend. So, all this being said, not only did his rhetoric run into a brick wall, but the federal government just laid out a funding package that I believe the funding package goes through September. Does it go through this September, or is there another September? No, I think it goes to the end of September. So it'll basically fund the government for 2 more quarters. And it doesn't have any money for Sessions. See right here, Congress gives $0 to Jeff Sessions. Congress once again is blocking the Justice Department from spending money. In a newly unveiled budget bill, lawmakers include a provision known as the Rohrabacher-Farr Amendment that allows states to carry on with crafting their medical marijuana policies without fear of federal intervention. The bill, which funds the government through the end of September, is expected to pass this week. And of course, if you know, the provision is just this little thing at the very end, and it puts all 50 states, also the District of Columbia, Guam, and Puerto Rico, and it would prevent any of them from implementing their own laws. None of the funds made available in the Funding Act gives any money to the Department of Justice that may be used to prevent any of these states from implementing their own laws that authorize the use, distribution, possession, or cultivation of medical marijuana. So good job, Rohrabacher and Farr, for this. Back in 2014, this thing was invented, and it's been, it's been re-upped every time. And You might think, well, wow, the government spends so much time and energy on this funding package that's only going to fund the government for 6 more months. What's up with that? Yeah, I don't know what's up with that. I think it's called a continuing resolution, and it essentially has all the same, pieces of legislation, pieces of government funding considerations. Nothing really changes dramatically, if at all, from one continuing resolution to the next. Every now and then you hear about things like when Trump tries to get like 50 or 60 billion more dollars. Party pooper. Looks like we have a paper issue here. And this is a serious situation. So I'm going to go ahead and go grab a paper. Actually, yes. And we are back. And he found a paper. So it looks like this is, they say, it just shows that Congress isn't interested in stepping up federal oversight of state pot laws under the Trump administration, even as U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions hints that he wants a crackdown. You don't get what you want in government. I've seen, remember Obama? It seemed like he wanted some change. Didn't really get any. He wanted to make the healthcare, I believe it was what he called at the time, universal, or maybe he called it single payer or something. But he had a vision for what he wanted healthcare to be like, and it was a lot cooler than Hillary's vision at the time when they were running against each other. But after he got elected president, it kind of fizzled down to the shit we had called Obamacare, which is pretty much a Republican thing. And I guess that's what you get, It's what we've been getting, and now you have the same thing happening only in opposite. Instead of it being a Democrat that's in the White House trying to get his agenda through, this time you have a Republican, and his agenda might have been a little bit scarier than we would have hoped for. But it didn't happen. Now, yeah, this Rohrabacher Farr Amendment is going to have to get looked at again when when this continuing resolution thing expires, and we'll be right back to square one again. Man, just sign after sign that maybe this isn't time to celebrate quite yet. So the lighter's going to die too before we get this celebration thing up and smoking? Come on. Yeah, I don't really want to beat a dead horse here because I really didn't. Yeah, as I reported on this the whole time, I was never really in the camp if there was one. And we're back again. Bingo. Now, do you think we can get this celebration underway? Come on, Crockett Dog. Whew. That was the hardest celebratory joint. There was all the forces in the world were working against that celebration. But I'm going to throw caution to the wind nonetheless, because all along I've said that Sessions really doesn't have the wherewithal to, in the midst of this situation of public opinion being very high towards legalizing marijuana, he don't have the political capital to be out there going against that much public support for legalization. He's got, in fact, it wasn't even the legalization he was really looking down the barrel of. There was actually a poll that said, should Jeff Sessions crack down on states that have legalized recreational marijuana or even medical or whatever? and a resounding, I believe it was like a 72% said, hell no, he shouldn't. So, you know, I say celebrate. What we had was basically, you had Governor Hickenlooper from Colorado actually talk to Sessions. And one of the quotes that I see that came out of that is Hickenlooper said, at one point he said, well, you haven't seen us cracking down, have you? I mean, no. I mean, that's what I just said earlier. Like, there really hasn't been any effort to crack down or signal that was like something was looking like a signal, like all of a sudden there was some kind of the way was cleared for funding for raids and other federal action, like prosecutors and I don't know, whatever. None of that, you know, there was nothing like that going on. There was no mobilization of a lot of DEA agents other than the normal business as usual stuff that they usually do. And overall, it didn't look like it was any more than just empty rhetoric, in my opinion. Hickenlooper said that Sessions certainly listened to what the governors had to say, and while the Attorney General couldn't have been more emphatic about his position opposition to marijuana legalization, I'm sorry, folks, he didn't give me any reason to think that he was going to come down and suddenly try to put everyone out of business. And that's kind of one of those trust things, you know, like when you talk to somebody and they tell you what their intentions are and what their position is and all that, and then in the end you get a general feeling that no, this guy's being honest. I think that's what he's saying there. He's obviously reviewing the Cole memo and quote, they're working on a version of that makes sense for this administration. We'll have to see how far they go. Of course, what makes sense for this administration may change from day to day. As so with other issues, the administration has sent mixed messages on pot legal states. On the campaign trail, Trump said he would leave the states alone, but the White House spokesman Sean Spicer said there would be greater enforcement on recreational sales. I don't know if that's the exact quote. It ain't. But nonetheless, we have Tom Angel, who says, while we still don't know exactly how closely the administration will stick to President Trump's clear campaign pledges to respect state marijuana laws, Sessions' recent remarks are a positive signal. And I like to listen to Tom. He's usually spot on with the read on these public officials. And he is the chairman of the marijuana majority. And he told the Daily Caller, quote, the fact is legalization is working well in states that have enacted it. And a growing majority of the public supports ending prohibition. It would be a huge mistake policy-wise and politically for the Justice Department to try to reverse the course of history on marijuana. Angel added, quote, it seems like the Attorney General might be starting to realize that. And that goes back to the political capital issue that I was talking about earlier. And he don't really have none. I mean, Sessions narrowly avoided all this Russia bullshit Red Scare going on where everybody's Russian business ties are coming under heavy scrutiny. And I don't know how much of it's really a big deal and how much of it isn't. I haven't seen anything that was like a smoking gun, though, so I think it's just all a big witch hunt. But nonetheless, Sessions was lucky to narrowly avoid that. And, there's still a possibility you might get dragged back into that crap. So, that's one angle. And then there's other things that he's in the midst of trying to accomplish under Trump's administration, which is a little shaky at best, like the immigration policies they're trying to enact. All the way down to just getting rid of federal overlook on some of these police departments across the country that have demonstrated ridiculous, shall we say, police abuse of power tactics. So there's a lot of places where Jeff Sessions is already spreading himself thin, to say the least, and I don't think he's going to basically try to whittle any kind of like political capital towards a marijuana battle. It just ain't gonna happen, guys. So I'm gonna call this one a wrap. You will not hear Jeff Sessions talk shit about marijuana. I mean, of course he's gonna have his normal bullshit things to say about it, but as far as some kind of a crackdown and that kind of a rhetoric coming from Jeff Sessions, oh shit. We're in trouble, guys. Hopefully no more videos about Sessions.